I'm here with Joe Rotella, and Joe, you love things that are shiny, don't you?
I do, I do.
So you have brought a lot of shiny. We are making this incredible oversized, or maybe even life-size, giant foiled flower.
We are. You know, my first one was 2 feet in diameter, so we've gotten smaller. So I love working with foiled paper, and on flat surfaces it's great, and it is flexible, but it won't keep its shape. And so in order to make a 3D flower, I needed a way to get the foiled paper to keep a shape.
Okay.
And so how about stiffened felt? That was the trick. So we're going to start by cutting out a felt petal using the electronic cutting machine.
So you've just designed a file here, right? That's the size that you want.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
So while that cuts, I'm going to show you the next step, which is to take a piece of felt and stiffen it. Now, I'm going to wear some gloves just because I don't have the ability to, quickly go wash my hands here.
Okay. And some people like to wear gloves when they craft just because they don't necessarily like to get messy, but it's totally up to you.
If I could get each finger in the right hole, that would make it a lot easier.
Exactly.
So this is a fabric stiffener, and I like to use it in a big plastic bag. You just squirt a bunch in there and put in a bunch of your felt.
It's like shake and bake.
It is. Although this is more like squish and squeeze.
Squish and squeeze. I like that a lot.
I think that's our technical
to get
terms.
it there. Yeah. And now while you're doing that, I'll just say the electronic cutter is just determining how thick that material is. And so it looks like it's actually already done. And let's see our leaf. There we go. So here you go. So this is identical to the other leaves that you have. It's a different color. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter because we're going to cover it with foiled paper.
Oh, okay. That's
and
easy.
if you would like it, the next step is to cut some of the foiled paper. And what I've done is go around the shape of that petal about a ½ inch. So we
I was going to say, this is about a ½ inch bigger, so I know there's another file on there, so I'll go ahead and cut some foil, and I'm going to just pull off this tape and put some foil on instead.
So see how our leaf is really soaked?
Yeah.
You need to put it on an armature in order to get its shape. So
armature sounds really fancy. Can you explain what that is?
The shape of the end thingy you want. Does that count?
Okay, that does.
So I just used aluminum foil and I made a ring, and you have to cover it with plastic wrap because it'll stick to the foil. And so just drape this over, and it'll take a good 24 hours to dry. But when we're done, we'll have a leaf that's exactly stiffened to be that shape.
And this could be any shape. Like if you wanted one side of the flower to be slightly higher, you would just make your aluminum foil underneath higher or anything like that.
So I did a high one on this side and a low one on that side.
I see. Perfect.
When you're done, look at this. I mean, it's...
Wow. So this, because I'm feeling this original felt, and I can see that this is totally bendable, but this is really...
Yep.
That is amazing. So
now we have a good shape to apply our foiled paper onto. And the question is, like, I don't want it to just be flat. We could, but that's not very interesting to me.
But I think, again, like one of the things that I think is so cool about you as a crafter is I feel like you always go above and beyond. Instead of just doing like what's expected, you always go that one step further that really makes it special.
So what I'm going to do is use a hot glue gun and just make some ribs.
Oh, like veins that a leaf might have.
And there's no right or wrong here. These are your leaves. This is what you want your leaf to be. What's great is that foiled paper is actually 3 layers. There's foil on the outsides, and in the middle it's regular paper, kind of like a sandwich.
Really?
And that's why it cuts so beautifully.
I was going to say, I'm going to grab my spatula out of here and just wiggle this foil, this delicate, there you go, right off.
So I have one done, and you can see it's a little bit bigger. So this glue it's not all the way hardened, but it's not completely wet. And if we stick the foil on there, what I found is you can flatten the felt. It'll go back to its shape.
It will, so you don't have to worry that you're flattening it that way.
You can see it's trying already.
Oh yeah, and it's pulling the foil with it.
And we have that extra. And if you just try to fold this over, that gets a little tricky. So we're gonna just cut.
You're stealing this from sewing because this is exactly
I
what
learned
you
it from
do,
you.
right? Is when you're going around curves in sewing, you basically cut these little darts so that you can fold things in and your seams will lie nice and flat. That's a great idea.
And now it'll just pull all that up in. See how that goes?
Yes, because otherwise I can see it would be wrinkly sort of as it went around.
So now we have the beginning of our foiled.
Now, do you need to do the
petal.
underside of this at all, or did you just leave the felt
I
exposed?
didn't because I imagined this hanging on a wall, but you could cut one and instead of oversizing it, make it the exact same shape and just put it on top. So we can then use the hot glue, and you know, it sticks to this really well. So just do a big line like that.
This is such a great project too for like, I all the time have like little pieces of leftover felt that are a million different colors and I'm always wondering what am I gonna do with all these random pieces? And this is perfect because you're hiding it and using it as the structure or the armature, you know what I mean? You never even notice.
Now, here, to get those ribs to show up, you can use the back of your nail, you can use an eraser on a pencil, but if we press into it, you're basically embossing. And you'll end up with something like that. So we're gonna go one extra step. We've got a texture here and it's nice, and I like it. We could paint over it, but I want it to really show the veins in that leaf. So I'm gonna hit it with this pad.
It's an ink pad?
Well, it's a special ink that will remove the coloring and expose the silver underneath.
Wow, so almost like bleach or something like that.
And but it's not toxic, you know, I'm not worried about my hands. But do you see how as I
So
rub
it's
it?
basically going on the raised portions of it mostly and not into the grooves.
Yeah, and see what that does. If we kept rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, we would have that.
That is such a cool look. I love that color variation. And it does remind me of nature because nature's full of these places where the color changes and transforms like that.
Now, we needed a center for the flower, and I wanted a dome shape. And the best thing I could find was a giant wiggly eye.
That's awesome.
I love the wiggly eye. So here, foiled paper.
Did you know that you just ruined that piece of foiled paper?
I didn't, though, because, now if I can undo it, look at the cool texture that gives us.
Oh, that is cool.
And we could wrap it around.
And again, that's more like what you would find in nature is something that has that kind of bumpy texture because it's seeds or something like that at the center of the flower. And I love how the stars on there, you know. Oh, you're going to even more distress it. I love it.
How cool is that? Now, if you don't like that and you want something a little bit glitzy, how about Mardi Gras beads on top of our wiggly eye? And this just has a disc on the bottom. If you want to like stiffen it up, just put a piece of wood the same size. I painted it. And we have one rocking and rolling here.
And I can see all that beautiful distressing that you did. It's really neat how the star pattern stays, but the color goes.
So all we're going to do is, and no one's going to see the glue. Don't worry about the glue.
I'm a very messy hot gluer, and I've come to accept that instead of trying to fight it. But I think hot gluing is a skill.
Well, you know, and if I were really concerned, I could wear these little
the finger things to save yourself from burning yourself. Mostly, I like to burn myself 3 or 4 times and then remember to put them on.
As you can see, that's exactly what I've done today is remembered, oh, I should wear those things.
Exactly.
So we're just going to add these things all the way around. And
now
when we're
you
done,
could make this, you know, any color you wanted to go with your home decor, because I know the one that we've seen was all in sort of like reds and yellows and oranges. This is all in purples. I mean, this would be really fun for centerpieces, actually, for a party. I think a child would love this in their room. Can you imagine a wall full of these?
Oh, yeah. And especially, you know, like I said, the first one was 2 feet because I thought, okay, the electronic cutting machine can handle a large amount. That foiled paper
is pretty big, right? So it makes it easy. And I imagine that you can put all sorts of things in the middle, like you could do a candle.
Oh, that's a cool
right?
idea.
You could turn it into a little clock or something like that. I mean, you could do a lot of different stuff. That would be really neat.
Now watch that I don't burn you.
Okay, I'll be careful. And it goes together so fast. And I love how you did the veining on these larger leaves. I can see how that is done, and you know, so that you really get that texture.
And then all I did on the back of this one was add a sawtooth hanger.
Ah, and then it's so easy to put on the wall.
So there you have it.
That is super cool, Joe. And this is one of those projects that I think, boy, girl, garden party, whatever. This was awesome. Thank you so much.